spawning at the bottom of the map as the blue Egyptian player. Up against Kraken today as the red Persian. So through the grand final of Rookie Rebellion. Our players both successful in their semi-finals and in their round 1 games. Kraken adding the barracks. Slink's adding a barracks. His will be slightly later, but the Egyptian player does have faster training age 1 units. In 2 seconds, just want to check who. Yeah, that's right. Nate Cirque had the round 1 forfeit victory. So yeah, both of our players have been successful so far in this tournament, winning both their semi-final and their round 1 games 2-0, I believe. So they're yet to concede a map, let alone a series in this tournament. They were probably on paper, the 2 players probably tipped to win, I would say. I did have them seeded as 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 in the tournament. Because even though it is the rookies tournament, it did sort of seem fair enough. I mean, they've only played a handful of show matches and I think 1 tournament each. And both some time ago with a period of inactivity. So they're probably the most experienced players in the tournament, but they're also not terribly experienced. Like compared to actual tournament experienced players, they've really only got the 1. Whereas the others have all played multiple or several weeks of show matches. So these guys are really honing their skills here. And so far this has actually really panned out like a, you know, proper open tournament game really. We've got just about perfect spear rushing here, although Kraken's actually housed himself and he needs to make sure he throws up that house ASAP. So this will cost him a little bit of gather time, having to go with 6 villagers up to force us out ASAP. At the same time, at this early on, I do think it's worth actually cramming them out as quickly as you can. And then, you know, now he can afford to just have a single villager build the house. So Kraken, as much as he got housed and made the mistake there, he realized within a couple of seconds and then did the proper resolution to it. So it doesn't really cost him a huge amount. He is down by 2 pop or 3 pop here over Slinks. The villager counts actually favours Kraken at the moment. Slinks having 8 spears there. Kraken's got the 5 Sparrow though, and these guys, wonderful tanks. They've got that little bit extra pierce armor most of the spearmen don't actually have. This would be nice for Slinks. Kraken's actually fighting the wildlife. We've got Kraken versus Wild going on here while Slinks stabs the Sparrow in the back. Alright, so Kraken's realised he's going to try and back out, but I think he's too low and he's just going to get snare locked now. So that's the unfortunate part of if you're ever fighting against 2 spears with another age 1 infantry, you kind of forced to just sit there and lose the unit. You're pretty much snare locked at that point. Unless you basically have like a scout or another unit run in front and body block for a hit or 2. And that, you know, gives time for the snare to basically translate to the other unit. So Slinks has actually got a lot more pop here. Well, a little bit more pop, but he's still down that 1 villager. Kraken aging now. Slinks very close to aging. Kraken with a little bit more stone in the bank. 10 Sparrow versus 12 spears. I think Slinks could afford to try and put a bit of pressure on here. Like, he's crept up, he's got the unit advantage, but he really, if he can force Kraken off this hunt, just make things a little bit more uncomfortable. Kraken can't, you know, just keep adding Sparrow and get conditioning while all this is going on. I mean, he is trying to really get that age 2 town center immediately, which is a good idea. But if you can, it's also nice just to make sure you can get conditioning and even just add some more Sparrow or a couple of spears. Or if you're playing a counter infantry to like Egypt, you know, you add a couple of axemen at this point, and you can really win this early game fight. So Slink's just trying to delay a bit of gathering there, but he does lose one of those spears. He can, well, he can kind of afford to at this point. I mean, again, with the access to the spears once his age 2 kicks in, and it'll be a little bit late. And Kraken's going to get that age 2 TC up. So Slink's a bit unfortunate there's not really any resources to push Kraken off over there, and Kraken's naturally just expanded over this side, knowing that Slinks has got the majority of his army over here. So I just wanted to check something. Anyway, just stop freezing up there. Yeah, if I hold tab, it locks the game screen. So Kraken just has the spear, Sparrow, but he's adding some spears now and going to get conditioning. So he is anticipating camels from Slinks. Slinks is pop capped at the moment. He does need to add a house. This TC isn't going to finish in time, so if he just waits... Oh, actually, no, he does have quite a few villages, and he does have the Empower. This is nice for Kraken. He's just delaying a bit of food gathering. Slinks is going to be able to move over here now. Wait, even still, it just sort of pushes him off this half-finished hunt. Slinks getting hand-sawed. Kraken's already taken it. So Kraken's been slightly ahead on getting techs here. Quicker age up, quicker second TC. 32 villages to 28, so a small lead here for Kraken, and he does have the wood to just add either a second range or a stables at this point, which I think is generally what the Persians players are going to try and do. If he knows that Slinks is getting the stables, he's probably better off with adding the range. If he sees another barracks from Slinks, he's probably best off getting the stables. Just because the camels will counter the stables units, while the barracks, unlike the other civs, does give access to slingers. Persian bowmen, you can just build them so fast. Yeah, he's going to get 2 ranges here. I don't know if he's aware about the production. No, he's not. So, right now Kraken does have a small pop lead though, and this is kind of where he wants to be in as Persia. If you can take small engagements, kill a couple of units, back out and just rely on Persia's crazy H2 production. Though that engagement onto the storehouse did cost him the chance to get a couple of kills here. A few slingers in the mix. Oh, there we go. So Slinks is going to focus down the bowman. Doing a good job of doing so, actually. And with axemen versus the spears and sparrows, it's definitely a winnable fight for the Egyptian player. Still getting a couple of camels as well, so it forces more spearmen instead of sparrow. Which might not sound super important, but it does mean that the slingers are going to marginally hit a little bit harder against them. And the axemen will be able to fight both quite well. But Kraken, it's a really powerful setup here because you can just spam out bowmen with their crazy 9-second train time. Persia is a little bit dependent on this though, because they don't have a counter infantry unit. Whereas, you know, Egypt, even though they don't get the bowmen, they can counter them. The camels can roughly trade evenly with them. You know, the slingers are an actual dedicated counter. Camels eventually will be a counter when you can get champion. At which stage, you know, you want to use them instead of slingers, while also being able to use chariots to give you a similar kind of hard hitting range like a bowman unit. Slink's not really finding anything on this side, but Kraken is gathering over the other side of the map, and now at least if Slinks is being active, he might be able to do a bit of raiding damage. But Kraken, this will be a good push here. He should snipe a few villages. Yeah, he will get a couple. Slinks is going to run back towards the army rather than to the town centre. Probably should actually just garrison the priestess. I don't know why he's actually just fleeing like this. But the engagement overall hasn't really worked out for Slinks, I don't think. I mean, for Kraken, I don't think. But Slinks trying to kill reinforcements, and he's fighting a spear with the camels, which is not ideal. Kraken just trying to hit a couple of gold gatherers over here. I don't think he's going to finish anything off. But he's still maintaining a small production population lead here. 57 vils to 48, so Slinks slightly falling down on Eco Pop there. Does pull ahead on Total Pop for a bit, but he is housed. Kraken's starting to get armory upgrades, so Slinks will probably be looking to do so as well once this next stables finishes off, because then they'll have really impressive production. 3 barracks, 2 stables, so 5 production buildings in total. Kraken only on the 3 at this stage, and he's invested in armory. Slinks does need to get a fair bit more gold here. I think that's the limiting factor to his eco at the moment. He'll probably pull half those wood gatherers onto gold somewhere. Problem is, he's actually going to have to start creeping forward to secure gold. So he can't really afford to lose too many early fights here. But this should be a good engagement for Slinks here. I think Kraken has just underestimated how much production he might need at this stage. Although the armory upgrades are going to start really benefiting him. He's already got that armor. Now Kraken can try and look at kiting Slinks here. Slinks does have the movement speed upgrade on the slingers, while Kraken doesn't, so Slinks should have a good time chasing here. Considering that movement speed upgrade, you get it basically for your infantry anyway. So it's a good fight there for Slinks. He does pull ahead on population, and because he's up, down on economy pop, he's definitely well up on army pop at the moment then. So 71 vils to 54. Kraken gonna go to age 3. Things are looking very smooth for him in an eco and teching regard. A little bit rough for the army. He doesn't have a huge front line now. He's gonna try and tower up a little bit. Just prevent Slinks from pushing into him. Slinks can afford to start playing a bit more aggressively. I think if he shifts some camels over this other side of the map, not only does he deny Kraken the ability to, you know, raid him with Asabara, he can clean up some of this food eco. Because right now Slinks just seems to be sitting back, playing pretty defensively. I think he is going to go for it. I think he's realised. He sent a villager here. I wonder, he was probably going to go and put a watch post here, only to have the building get cancelled when that storehouse has been revealed. So, oh, this is a nice run here for Kraken, but at the same time, Slinks will be able to do a little bit of damage to those guys. And he is going to just try and take out the Asabara. Maybe get a villager. I can bring in the army over. Oh, it's Slinks. You want to get these guys out of here. You don't want to let them fight. So a camel or two are going to get picked off. Meanwhile, Slinks is considering pushing over this other side. There we go. So he is going to deny a bit more gathering of Krakens. The Kraken going to prevent the camels dealing any more damage over this side. Kraken should be able to see that, shouldn't he? Yeah, he can. So Kraken's actually going to let Slinks know that he's still gathering over here. Probably should have cleaned that up. Slinks is really getting a bit of good intel here. He's got tabs on the gold and the stone, on all this food finishing up now. Really just needs to keep track of where Kraken's gathering gold. Kraken, in the meanwhile, it's impressive army mass. Played a bit of catch up, surged ahead on economy. Like quite a bit now. He's killed a bit of eco with his engagements. Add more production. Get that third TC now, whereas Slink's racing towards age 3. Not far off on the TC, but he probably wants to put 2 more stone gatherers on, just so he's not, you know, having to wait that little bit longer. Plenty of gold for his age 3 unit technologies. And Kraken's got the 2 main ones he was aiming for here with Bowman and Spear Champ as well, so he's had to invest. I think that's probably 750 gold in total for the pair of them. I think Bowman Champ's only like 300 gold. And Spear Champ's what, 4 or 450? Oh, Slinks don't fight that. Kraken has a really good composition to clean up those camels. Because even if they do have champion, just the fact that you've got the spears there, and then the bowman hitting at range. You know, there's only a handful of Asabara, so it's pointless to try and snipe them with your camels. You know, if your opponent's got 25 Asabara, and only a handful of spears and bowmen, then yeah, sure, throw your 30 camels at them and just win the fight, but yeah, composition, you know, it's quite important here. So Fortress for Slinks. This will be nice because it means he can play off the back foot a little bit here. He's still got a little bit of gold, though he is going to want to get on top of one of these mines out here. Oh, he needs to finish that storehouse. That's rough for Slinks. Kraken, a really nice pop boom up to 180 pop. So he's got 94 vils. He can afford to pretty much stop there. Slink's still at 69. So if he can get this third TC out and then hit 180 pop, he's got a superior army. But he needs to be able to hold out long enough to get there. And I mean, he's got a bit of gold in the bank, which does alleviate the fact that he's really only got another, what, 1500 gold back here, 1600 gold. Oh, he's securing this mine over here, but Kraken's also going to try and get a workshop and just try and cut this mine off now that he can see this. This is really good pressure being applied from Kraken. All he probably wants to do is now maybe send a pair of spears or Asabara around over here just to harass Slinks and give him something else to focus on over here, because Slinks now starting to dip on score. The armory differences starting to become apparent. Kraken having just about all of his age 2 upgrades and adding in some age 3 ones. Slinks really only getting his age 2 armory upgrades now. Adding in the chariots there, but he doesn't really have enough to contend with the backline of the Persia player. But Kraken losing a lot of his front line right now. He can't actually push here, and the war elephants are going to be able to counter all of this stuff here. Kraken, this is probably not a bad idea. I mean, if he really wants, he can try and actually build it within range of the enemy fortress if he's got enough workers and a little bit more in the bank. Because yeah, Slinks is starting to trail on score now, so Kraken can afford not so much to throw the game away, but to apply pressure in, you know, ways that aren't necessarily apparently cost effective, but they just really piss your opponent off. Force them to put a lot of attention into here, because then you have the rams coming through anyway, and then if you're raiding out over on this side of the map, which Kraken's starting to do now, your opponent is just restricted to gathering what he can defend. The rams kind of on the wrong side of the army. Oh no, that's a good little move there. Should be able to get on top of that fortress now. But the front line of the Persia player gonna fall pretty quickly. There's no mortals there, and the spears can only really tank so much damage. So that ram push does get deflected there. And I mean, if you put a fortress just outside the range of the enemy one, or at the point where you can like click to attack either of them, I think it just helps you defend the ram push, because then your fortress finishes up as you start to lose the fight. Things start to equalize a bit. So Slinks, he's going to try some raiding here, and I think he might be able to snipe these wood villages. But he is still lacking that third TC at this stage. So until he gets that, it's going to be hard trying to win fights. Because even though his opponent's up 22 villages, he's never going to be able to make use of that 20 pop space, so he's really only up by 2 military pop in any of these fights. Kraken probably wants to look at getting just, you know, getting aid tent or getting just one Magus, just because he can heal up all these bowmen. There's not a lot of health. He's not really inclined to replace them at this point, because if he can just use that population instead on Immortals and Takabara. Takabara will be handy against the Egyptian backline, and Immortals better as a frontline unit. So very nice raid here by Slinks. This sort of pressure is going to be what's going to help get him back into the game. Ooh, and if he can take out the mounted archers, Kraken's going to try and kite those, so Slinks is going to want to bring his chariots. They are a little bit slow, but oh, and the camels now getting on top of the MAs. They should be able to win this fight. They've got the numbers, and if they can get on, because they are a range counter as well, they are technically the counter to the mounted archers. Kraken's got an impressive bank here. He can look at going for age 4 once he gets another 150 food. I think he's going to do so because he's just hit 180 pop. It's been very smooth. Slinks got his age 3 TCs, got caravans being produced, but he needs something more than a couple of spears to clean up these Asabara. Ideally, 3 or 4 camels. Age 4 on the way for Kraken. Slink's getting iron smelting. He's got his age 3 armor. Just needs his age 3 damage as well. This should be a good comp here for the Egyptian player, although the slingers, unless they're focusing the backline, a bit of a wasted pop situation. So I think the armory upgrades are actually what are doing Slinks in here, because the war elephants are a really solid unit. Oh, and he's got all the camels out of position there, so a bit unfortunate for Slinks. He wasn't able to get as much value out of those guys as he wanted. And these chariots as well, not taking part in the fight. Every little unit, every little bit counts. You know, particularly if you're just trailing your opponent. Kraken making that big investment in age 4, and right now, other than Woody, he hasn't got a huge amount in the bank. So had he taken a bad fight here, it could really help Slinks get back in the game. Same time, Kraken's done well to make sure he's raiding while he's taking these big fights. He can sneak a couple cavalry in. He can really start to push well. I think he just pulled all army together there. That might have been a bit of a mistake, because these Asabara had killed a couple of caravans and villages. And GG, Kraken taking game number 1 here today, guys. So a really, really good showing there from Kraken. Slink's going to be able to pick the next map from... Where's our map pool? Yeah, Ghost Lake, Oasis, Treasure Island, or Wildwoods. Have a quick look at the scores there. So Slink's just dropping off a little bit in the Vil production. I think that, and then Kraken being able to just make slightly better, slightly quicker tech choices really helped seal the deal there. The winner of this series is definitely going to be banned from future noob tournaments. And second place might be. Just because these guys are playing a pretty smooth game. Oh, new daily rewards. Yeah, buddy. I'll figure out what map our players are going to get stuck into next. Treasure Island for game number 2. Alright folks, we're going to kick off with game number 2 here. Looks like a Persia versus Greeks match. So Treasure Island, I believe, was the pick. Alright, welcome back to Treasure Island. We've got game 2 in the best of 5 for the Rookie Rebellion. Kraken playing as the Greeks here in the red trunks. Being victorious in game number 1 over Slinks, who's playing the green Persia today. So game 1 being a Persia versus Egypt, with the Kraken winning his Persia over Slinks' Egypt. Kraken with that fast barracks. Slinks going for the wood first here. So this is a bit risky. He's not going for the fast town, fast barracks. He's going for fast town center or fast water, which is an interesting pick. Because Kraken's definitely just going to spear rush him. A little bit slow on the early food here, but we'll start that spearman production very shortly. And you're just going to see Slinks going for the dock, so I'm not going to be able to interrupt it from going down. I wonder if he's best off actually focusing the dock rather than the villager building it. It's not going to deal a huge amount of damage. It's only dealing 1 health every, what, 2 hits. Kraken's just going to rush the villagers first, which is probably a good idea. Because he can send later spears to go onto the dock as well. Because he wants to try and get over here before Slinks has got 2 or 3 boats out, because then he can just repair through it. Although Kraken is going to want to not lose the spears. Or Slinks. Going to be able to keep on gathering there. Oh, he even goes over to the other deer for a sec there. And that's really nice by Slinks, actually deciding to focus down the spear there with the town center. So very nice stuff there. I reckon so far, not getting a huge amount of value out of the spears. Well, Slinks is going to start creeping ahead on economy. He's up that 1 fishing boat, soon to be 2. He will want to evacuate the villager here and just repair the dock. Or even use the fishing boats to focus down individual spears, you know, between repairing or whatever. So Slinks is going to want to get the villager out, which he will do. Slinks is going to want to make sure he keeps gathering as much as he can out of this, because he has been pushed off the hunt. So unless he's using those boats, his food gathering's a lot slower. At least the the villager, they've got high snare resistance. So the spears are going to have to take a lot of town center damage to actually get the kill here. So Slinks so far hasn't lost a villager. It's been great defense and planning here. So you want to make sure this villager is about the closest thing to the town center at all times here. Oh, this is good for Slinks here, because he'll start getting a couple of spears off Kraken. Kraken stopped producing spears for the moment, but he needs a bit more food to actually age up here. Slinks is going to have that age up a little bit quicker than his opponent. He's actually, Kraken's committing to even more spears. And once you get to the point that you've got 3 or 4 fishing boats, it's almost impossible to actually lose the dock as long as you remember to repair it. Just because you do have enough damage from the 3 boats that it just ultimately adds up to being able to snipe the spears. Particularly if you do bring the scout over, because he is dealing another 4 damage. Slinks needs to remember to repair this. Kraken, in the meanwhile, is getting that dock of his own. So Slinks is going to want to make warships here. He needs to scout this out, so he's going to head over that far side. So Slinks is able to repair through this at this point. He's going to be able to kill spears as they appear, have just 1 boat repairing. Although he needs to make sure he's not going to lose this fishing ship. If this goes down, it can really start to mess with his ability to keep the spears out. So Kraken will be able to get this boat. Slinks isn't look. Oh no, Slinks just in time saves the boat. I believe that Bowman was actually getting a kill there as well. So Slinks would have seen this from Kraken. Kraken now having to play a little bit of catch up in a way. Smart of Slinks to try and micro that individual bowman back, but now he wants to bring it back to the shore, I'd imagine. So no warship production yet for either player. They've both gone for these docks. They're going for the TCs. Slinks has been much faster on his TCs, up to, well, he's still pretty much even on Vilpop at the moment. He hasn't actually started producing out of the second one yet, and he does have the food to do so. Kraken now has queued up a warship. He's going to be much faster on that, so he's going to delay Slinks' food eco, and Slinks doesn't have much food in the bank, but he does have plenty of food gatherers. Just needs to get hunting dogs, probably. Kraken also, both players really only have handsaw. The warship here for Kraken. Slink's even scouted and knows about the dock, so it's a bit of a shame he hasn't really prepared to get warships. I don't know if he's got enough to defend this with what he's got on the land, and Kraken can always just run, so this will be rough for Slinks. In fact, the bowmen have much shorter range, so you need to be very careful with this. So, if anything, I think Slinks should just get out, cancel the galley, throw down a barracks or the stables and just push immediately. Because right now, Kraken's investing in a third trireme. And they're even more expensive than your galleys. So 250 resources versus 225. Slinks might just be getting one to just sort of micro through this and just force Kraken into maybe even making a fourth. It's unlikely, but if you can just micro a lot. And just sort of distract his opponent over here. He can build up an army behind this. Kraken's adding the range now. And this is a very tough fight to take. Just because the warships outrange the bows by quite a lot here. And they're only small units, so even if you do sort of do the dance with them like you would a warship, one of them's bound to get hit. Oh yeah, there we see, in fact, another bow took hits as well. So Slink's adding his stables, and he already has one. That's one range as well. You can possibly even look at getting a barracks now, because Kraken will be getting his own stables to make saris to counter the bowmen. So Slink's trailing on pop here. Kraken surging ahead, but bearing in mind, 9 population of this is in warships. It's like Slink's only really made 2 galleys there, I think. So, you didn't have to make as much of an investment in it. And Kraken's really only been fishing off one boat. He's even going to the extent of repairing his triremes, which I don't really think is a good idea. In a way, this is just costing him even more resources when he's already won the water. Slinks is starting to catch up a little in terms of population here. Slinks doesn't have any front line that isn't bowman though, so... Although I think he could have kept chasing there a little bit. There's no saris out just yet. Armory for Slinks this time. He's looking pretty healthy on the land, even though he has lost that water. Because like I said, Kraken's invested quite heavily. He's got a second dock. And he's been repairing the triremes. He invested in an extra. Triremes are more expensive than galleys. This little guy over here is not actually gathering, so... Now Slinks gets the benefit of crazy Persia train times. Slinks has probably added slightly too many houses here. At the same time, getting on the barracks already will be useful. Might want to get over onto this hunt in the corner. Let's bring the army forward. I think he... Well, this will be a nice catch. So he might not kill the Sari, but Greek doesn't have access to early healing, so... As long as Slinks can keep training an army up, if he can pick these off, he can really put Kraken behind. Our players are on even pop, and that's before you factor in the fact that Kraken's got 9 water army pop, like 9 navy pop, and then he's got these guys also fishing away. So the boats are really population efficient, but those triremes will just be wasted population for Kraken. Kraken's got a really nice age 3 timing, but I think Slinks needs to get more houses and push here. At the moment, I do think Slinks has got the better army, so 56 to 65, yet even pops. So I think, yeah, Slinks definitely should just be pushing at the moment, especially considering Kraken's invested in age 3, so he doesn't have a lot of wood. This could be a good raid here by Slinks. Kraken not really putting on any map pressure at the moment, although he has plenty of good vision of the waterline there. Good garrison there by Kraken, although he did lose a villager or 2. Slinks going to want to get these guys out of here ASAP, rather than just losing 1,000 resources worth of units. So we'll lose a few of these Asabara, which is not ideal. Oh, that one's going to get stuck. This guy's going to get out though, that'll be good. For Slinks, not so good for Kraken, because he's going to be wanting it to just thin out his opponent's army and rely on the fact that the fishing eco is eventually just going to put him well ahead. You don't have to win here and now, but if you can cost effectively fight your opponent and have a better eco, then eventually you're just going to get to late game faster than he will, and there's no way around that. So Kraken, seeing that Slinks is on the way in, he's got watch posts everywhere at the moment. These guys are still age 2 Asabara as well. They haven't got their champion upgrade. They can't really afford to fight, you know, spearmen yet. Even in age 3 with your champion upgrade, it's still a bad idea. At least by then, the main thing for the Greeks is they're going to want to get hoplites or prodromos, and ideally prodromos, to deal with your Asabara. A lot of stables being produced here for Kraken. Slinks taking out the wolves there. He wants to bring down the town centre, or at least force a lot of Prodromos production out here. The Prodromos are going to be slightly faster. Slinks waiting on his age 3. Kraken's got his, but this time Kraken's the one trailing on armory upgrades, so I think Slinks can definitely afford to start fighting here. Like, he really could just go ham with this bowman ball. I'm going to try and push over this side into an army of mainly Asabara, which is going to be good for Kraken. With all these spears here, up against the Asabara, and again they don't have their champ upgrade. Slinks is too busy trying to chase into the corner here. I think Slinks is making the mistake of just trying to attack where his opponent is, not where his opponent will be, whereas Kraken, on the other hand, is attacking, you know, where his opponent's army isn't, to basically get chased around in a way that he desires. In saying that though, Kraken's bottoming out on food. I think he's underestimated how much food he needs at this stage. It's a huge backline here still for Slinks. The Asabara fighting so inefficiently against these Prodromos though. I think Slinks is actually going to lose this defensive cavalry here. His villagers are still going to be under threat. So Kraken forcing out mounted archer production now. Storehouse being stopped. But both those Prodromos are now going to fall. There's been a lot of damage done to Slinks. He's got this massive bowman ball and has never really looked like moving out with it. Kraken continuing to fish. I think he's straightened out his food economy a little bit. Both our players are struggling to hit that max pop though. Slinks at age 3 TC is going to be a little bit slow. He can afford to put more food, villagers on it. Just to make sure he's got the ability to hit 180 pop quickly. The problem with this is if he walls in here, here, and here, this makes him very safe in this corner, but it's just, at the moment, kind of open for this big Prodromos army. Mounted archers will be able to clean up the Prodromos, but there's not enough of them to do so. So Avocado seems to be narrowly ahead of Left Cheek at the moment. There's very interesting civ names, fellas. And oh, this is nice for Kraken. He's making sure his opponent's got to push through him to actually get access to the water. And in the meanwhile, this makes it easy for him to chip away at this third TC while he's keeping his opponent's army busy all through the rest of his base. Slinks on 30 population to the 95 of Kraken at this point. I didn't realize the eco pop had gotten so bad for Slinks, but that does mean that Slinks has an army advantage. And he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to destroy Kraken's army here. But Kraken is going to be able to afford so many Saris and so many Tox with this eco advantage. Slinks needs to make sure he doesn't get kited too badly here. Make sure he keeps his own infantry alive just so he can clean up all the Saris so he can't be dived. Slinks needs to be very careful with the Sarasophroi in the mix here. Have his own way of dealing with those anti-ranged cavalry units. But Slinks is broke at the moment. He's got no food. Down to 28 villagers. Kraken's all the way on 96 and GG. Slinks just run out of economy here. There's still a Prodromos there. The Rams on... Oh, he might have seen the Rams coming in here too. Kraken's fighting this so well. I think a couple of times it looked like he was starting to back himself into a corner there, but he just managed to flip the script there. First, pushing in and trying to take that dock wasn't going so well for him, but then he just pushed on the water and won through that way. So it's been a rough old time for Slinks here in the first 2 games in this series. Don't want this to just be a 3-0. Because I think Slinks has actually been playing this. He opened it really, really well. Like, it was just such a safe 3 fishing boat age up opening there. Like, it's not too different to how like any of the tournament players had opened it. So, but eventually Kraken was just able to push him off the water. And I think Slinks just didn't push quickly enough. There was a stage there where Kraken had only a handful of like units on the land. Slinks, you know, once Kraken, you discounted his warship population, Slinks was basically ahead by a handful of pop on the land. And I think he was even up by 1 military production building. It's like, man, if you just start putting pressure on now, you'll be able to offset the dock because you'll be the one that's got on hunts while your opponent's on berries, and you'll be the one that prevents your opponent on getting on a second or third gold mine. Like all those little things help you turn around those sorts of occasions.